We also like Nebraska football. We were talking
We
about
do.
with Mitch Sherman.
Isn't it so nice that we're just back into actual
I
college
know,
football?
we're
We can actually talk a
so
lot of things.
close.
There are rumors swirling around that actually are relevant, and people are trying to figure them out. It's good stuff.
I can taste it. We're right there.
No, and I just showed you the projection. The week 1 slate, TV slate, looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So I asked Mitch the question if he could give a B+ performance to a unit of a player, for the entire season. Who or what unit would that be? I will ask you the same question, Austin Jacobsen.
Yeah. So to make sure that I'm completely clear, the B+ means that this player or position group, they can't exceed the B+.
Correct.
But if I don't take that, the player could perform better or worse across. Because your automatic thought, like truthfully, I lean towards the offensive side.
Okay.
Because if you give your quarterback a B+, you have a pretty good season, right? If your quarterback plays a B+ year, you feel really good about where things could land for you. But then there's always the potential, especially with the capability of a Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
I think in different years, like in 2023, if you would have given Nebraska a B+ quarterback.
Like if you're saying, hey, I'm going to get a B+ out of Jeff Sims.
Yes.
Absolutely, you take it.
Yeah.
100. Even last year with Dylan,
you probably would. I would have taken a B+ last year.
As a true freshman, you're probably like, hey, I'll take the B+, right?
People would have said he was DJ Lagway, who, by the way, has a calf strain in camp.
Oh.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not rooting for him to get injured.
No.
Like, there's more question marks. He had the shoulder. Now he's got the calf. Like, giving a lot of benefit of the doubt to a guy. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Those Florida quarterbacks, those athletic Florida quarterbacks, they sure do love to get injured.
How's Anthony Richardson doing?
I don't know. He's behind Joe Flacco currently. Known for his athleticism.
Daniel Jones,
right.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco's in Cleveland. How did I forget?
He was in – he spent a season in –
Yeah, he did. I think it was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Teach their own. Okay, so back to this. So the B+, I'm still going to lean offense, and I think, truthfully, if you get a B+ performance from your running backs, I think that this is a very successful season for Nebraska football.
Interesting.
I really wanted to break it down and go defense and try to name a specific player. But if you get, so what is a B+ statistical season from, let's just say Emmett Johnson. If I even just give you Emmett Johnson.
Just one guy.
Yep. So I think in a B+, you're nearing 1,000 yards on the season.
I was going to say like 850, 900.
Yeah. And if you're at 850 rushing yards, that is 300 more than the leading rusher over the past, 6-7 seasons. Because the leading rusher for Nebraska football, if not many people have remembered, hasn't really gotten close to that even 700-yard barrier for a couple of years now. It's been some time. And we even had the 2021 season where the quarterback was the leading rusher. And even in 2023 when Heinrich Carberg was the leading rusher.
Yeah.
A 700 to 800, 850-yard rusher, everyone dreams of 1,000 yards. And I think sometimes we assume that is the baseline. That is no longer the baseline. You do have to give a little bit of credence to it.
With an Emmett Johnson, let's say he goes 700 yards rushing, 400 yards receiving, or 350 receiving.
Yeah.
I think that's a B+.
I think so. I'd agree.
Between the rushing and receiving.
Yeah. I would say a little, either somewhere between 950 to like 1050
total yards.
Total offensive yards. Yeah.
I think that's fair. So if you get 1,000 total yards out of Emmett Johnson rushing and receiving, and let's call it 8 total touchdowns.
That's pretty good.
Does that feel about a B+?
More than what he had past year, right? You would look to see improvement and progress. So
if that's a B+, is that the guy you want to put your B+ on?
I would rather put a B+ on the entire running back room. But if it's a specific player, yes, Emmett Johnson.
Okay. Because I'm kind of thinking about defensive backs.
That's where I was leaning next.
Because here's the thing. I'm not putting it on quarterback because I think Dylan can outperform that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to put it on him, especially with Dana Holgorsen. And I know you've got year 2 Dana quarterback stats. Like I'm not going to put the limitation.
But you agree, in generic college football team, you would probably prefer to go quarterback, right?
It depends on who you are.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think there's definitely places that would take that. Like if you're Ohio State this year, would you take B+ at quarterback?
You could argue they had B+ quarterback last year.
Yeah,
and won them a national championship.
He had moments where he made plays, and that's probably in the B+ neighborhood.
I think Oregon would take a B+ quarterback.
Out of Dante Moore, for sure,
I think Georgia would take a B+ quarterback. I think national title contenders, a lot of them would take B+. I think Texas and Arch, I think that they know if they got a B+ quarterback out of him with the roster that they have, I think they'd feel pretty good.
Pretty decent chance of winning a national championship.
Yeah.
So I think with teams that you are considered loaded around them, I think you'd probably take B plus quarterback play from a lot of those unknowns, right? But if I'm sitting here and I go, okay, I think Dylan, especially with Dana, can outperform that, I don't want to put the limitation on him. I know a lot of people in the chat have said defensive line as well.
Yeah, and then so another guy I was actually leaning on, but it's hard. It's almost the Dylan argument because of what you think his potential upside would be. But if you got a B plus season and in the first year of Williams and Winari on the line,
that's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah,
because if you got a B plus out of him, the sky's the limit the rest of the season or the rest of his tenure.
For
here,
sure,
right?
Because what's a B plus out of a defensive lineman and defensive end in his case? Like
6 sacks. 5 sacks, somewhere in there.
I was going to say a little better than that.
See, that's where it's tough, though, because it depends on your scheme, how you're using them, that sort of stuff. But let's just say true defensive end on the edge, he's just going to rush the passer. He gets 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, forces a couple of quarterback hits and hurries. And
it's solid in the run game.
Yeah, right. I think
I would take that from Winari.
There's not a lot of defensive linemen on the roster right now that I wouldn't say 7 sacks for them. I would be standing up and clapping and cheering my face off.
I believe that would have led the team last year.
Yeah,
I think leading in sacks was 5.
If RVP had 7 sacks, if any of those guys had 7 sacks, you would feel very good.
Yeah, RVP is a guy I think can outperform the B plus.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said kicking or special teams.
Okay.
I mean, if you take a B plus special teams, that's automatically 2 wins from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely fair.
I like Rico. Whoever plays left tackle, that could be interesting. If you were to go offensive lineman, would you go left?
I just wouldn't go offensive lineman because I think that group's at least a B plus anyway, as
That's
a
fair.
total.
Yeah.
You've got enough options at both tackle spots. You've got guys that have started. I mean, Tyler Knox played 17 games at Nebraska over the last 2 years. Teddy Prohaska has shown that when he was healthy, was a Big Ten level starter. Gunnar Gatula showed last year he's a Big Ten level starter.
Mm-hmm.
Turner Corcoran has like 40 career starts under his belt. However you feel about Turner Corcoran, like there's obviously you got Elijah Pritchett at the other side where I assume he's going to start at one of the tackles. He started at Alabama last year. Like I look at the offensive line, I go, I don't need to take a given there. I'll take the upside.
Yeah. QB Ace, he says it's an easy choice D-line because of B plus that makes the whole defense that much better. And that's a great argument because that's what we've been talking about with Mitch, BC, Shafe yesterday through the past 3 months, that if the defensive line performs a certain way, the rest of the defense is much better because everyone is assuming that the linebackers are going to be solid, but no one in chat, neither of us have said anything about, Marquise Watson Trent or any of those guys trying to be B plus. But we haven't. I know you said defensive backs. If you wanted to pick like a specific one, that would be different too. But no one is outwardly saying really a specific person on the defense. But defensive line in general, if that one is so much better at a B plus, everything else kind of falls into place.
It does. I don't want to put a limitation on the defensive line because I think they can be better than a B plus.
I agree.
I think they can be better than a B plus. Headley says B plus for kicking. He said, would you say B plus for kicking gives us a 10-2 season this year?
Would you argue kicking from Ohio State on was a B plus?
It was pretty, although it got a little goofy at Iowa.
It did. So, everything was goofy at Iowa.
Yeah,
though.
So maybe not. I will say this. I wouldn't say kicking specifically, but if you gave me a B plus for all special teams, I don't know if it gets you to 10. I do think it gets you to 9.
Yeah.
Like I think you're at 9 if you have B plus special teams this year. I think you're at 9 wins. I really do. So that's a place that I mean, if I want to take the most wins for my B plus, special teams is probably the smart move. If I take special teams out of it, because that almost seems, just because of how bad Nebraska's been, that almost seems too easy. So let's take special teams out of it because it's like
I think special teams is a little too broad too, because
there's a lot of facets,
and it's also a third of
right.
It's
a third of the game, so you've got a little bit. It's a little bit too broad. We're not saying the entire offense can be a B plus. So let's.
I'd really like to see the Gunners get down there. B plus Gunners.
Right. So I appreciate that Headley specified it to kicking. I don't know that kicking by itself gets you to 10.
Yeah.
I do look at if I had to pick somebody even if I had to split the defensive backs up between corners and safeties, that might be interesting because defensive backs is kind of a broad group. You're playing different positions there, and there's a lot of guys.
There's different schemes back end and how you're going to play on one side and positionally how you'll play game to game too.
It's tough because I want to say B plus out of the corners just for the coverage part of it.
I've got one guy that I can think of.
But then you get DeJohn Singleton.
For improvement, yes. In my opinion, yes. But there's a different guy that I would
Who's that?
Sierra Wright.
See, I think we're going to B+ out Sierra Wright no matter what.
Okay.
My answer,
but see, that's what I would like to know. I would like to guarantee that if you have a B+ corner in the Big Ten, you feel pretty good going week in and week out.
See, so I was actually going to go Andrew Marshall because I think you've already got a B+ corner in Sierra Wright. You give me 2 B+ corners, then we're cooking.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So if I had to pick one guy, it's probably Andrew Marshall.
Because how many teams will you play generally in the Big Ten? All 18 teams down, not just Nebraska's schedule, all 18 teams, that if you had 2 B+ cornerbacks, we're playing college football 26, and you got 2 88 overall cornerbacks.
You feel good.
You feel really good.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of teams that are going to match up and give you that much struggle. There will be some, but and now you focus it to Nebraska side, not on that schedule.
And also, if you look at it, especially if your second corner is a B+, you can roll help because most people aren't going to have 2 wide receivers that terrify you.
Yeah.
Right. Ohio State's not on the schedule this year, right? Most places aren't going to have 2 wide receivers that you're like, man, I got to help on both of these guys. If you got 2 B+ corners, there's a pretty good chance one of those can be pretty much on an island and you feel okay.
Yeah.
Right. You can roll help to the other guy that has the tougher matchup.
You could argue that week 2, Colorado last year, Nebraska had a B+ cornerback at minimum on that field at all times.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they were locking down the 3 best receiving targets in the Big 12 at one point.
Hunter and Horn were both really good. And, I mean, Hunter's, probably one of the best receivers, probably top 3 receivers in the country last year.
And he still got his 100 yards, but it was a completely different way to get 100 yards than what he did the rest of the season.
Like, he wasn't a game breaker for Colorado against Nebraska. So, a healthy Tommy Hill was I think probably a B+. Obviously, that pick 6 really changed the momentum of the game. But, I don't know. I think I go defensive backs. I really do. And I think I go corners.
Yeah. I think it's more of a how you feel philosophy question than maybe how you feel about this current team. Although
it's a mix, right? It's a mix of philosophy and how you feel about the team, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, philosophically, D-line is the most important thing to me on a defense, and I think to most people. But I'm really high on this D-line, so I don't feel like I need the B+.
I'm a little interested. Neither of us have said anything about any receivers. Considering where last year the receivers, we had an expectation of them.
Sure.
And maybe it is the thought that, well, last year we had this thought, but this year's group is different. But if you said Isaiah Hunter is a B+ receiver, I think that's pretty solid because you're going into camp assuming Isaiah Hunter's probably a wide receiver 2 or 3, right?
A 2. I mean, I think so here's the thing. I think by the end of the year, we might look at Isaiah Hunter as wide receiver 1.
Okay.
I think he might end up being the best wide receiver on the team. Like, I'm very high on Isaiah Hunter. I think he can be super versatile.
So if you gave Dane Key, the senior statesman there in the room, and you said he's a B+, so he's at 750 receiving yards, he gets 5 or 6 receiving touchdowns, and he has 60 receptions on the season.
So basically, you're saying he almost, not quite, but almost exactly replicates his year from last year. Last year, he was at
I'd say that was a B+,
40,
right?
Probably a B. He only had 2 touchdowns, but part of that's a Kentucky.
So a couple more touchdowns.
Part of that's a Kentucky problem.
Right. Thanks, Mark.
But let's say he goes 50 catches, 750 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's probably about a B+. I don't know if I take that. I think I like the offense too much with Holgorsen. And here's the thing. I think to kill Schwartz is an important factor here because I would make the argument, and this is nothing against Garrett McGuire. I'm sure he's going to be a good coach one day. And I actually think he probably ends up being a better offensive coordinator than he does a position coach. Like, I think that's probably how his mind works based on people I've talked to and heard from. But I think if you have Da'Keel Shorts as your wide receivers coach and Dana Holgorsen as your offensive coordinator for all of last year, we're having a very different discussion about those very same guys, Nair and Banks.
Yeah.
And even like a Jalen Lloyd. And I don't know that we're having a different conversation about Malachi Coleman. I think that just wasn't working out. But maybe we're having a different conversation about Janarin Bonner, and we're probably having an even more enthusiastic conversation about Ja'Cory Barney. Like, I think if you just put these coaches, even with the guys that kind of underwhelmed us last year, we're having a very different discussion. So I'm going to take my chances with the receivers this year.
Okay. What if I ask you this, if I change it just a little bit?
Yeah.
Which assistant coach would you like to see? Which assistant coach do you think actually has the potential to turn their entire unit into a B+ unit? Because again, Nebraska, I know that you're high on Nebraska. You have a 10-2 roster, so you're thinking like B plus A minus that range, right? For essentially the entire roster. There's going to be some that are higher, some that are lower, that sort of thing. But 10-2 looks that way. But putting the nostalgia goggles off and trying to look at this roster as it is.
For context, I would say that 9-3 would be a B plus season.
Okay, I'm
10-2, I think we get to like A minus.
Yes, yeah. Look at us just giving out grades.
Absolutely,
GPAs.
that's what we do.
Yeah. Was it Miller North GPA? What'd you get?
3.6.
Ah, damn, beat me.
I didn't.
Wasn't that Western Nebraska knowledge though?
You gotta be careful. Yeah, you gotta be careful out there.
That WN, as the kids say.
The standardized test is really where I shined. That was
look at you.
I was a big standardized test guy.
SAT and ACT?
Yeah, I took them both.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They didn't offer the SAT out in Sydney. Couldn't get that far.
You had to go to Denver or something.
We did. You had to go to Denver. You had to come to. I think it was Lincoln was the closest one you could take it to. So.
Oof.
Yeah.
Lincoln's not closer than Denver, is it? From Sydney?
What do you mean?
Lincoln?
No, Lincoln's farther. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say Lincoln's not closer than Denver.
Yeah, it's like 2.5, 3 hours. It's 3 hours of downtown Denver.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That Lincoln's way farther than.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But some people want to stay in state. They don't want to give those tax dollars over to Colorado.
Those dirty Coloradans.
Well, some people had other reasons to go to Colorado, but not me.
The mountains, skiing.
That too. Yeah. People love to get high in Colorado.
Big ski. Guys.
Elevation wise.
Big ski guys.
Huge.
What assistant coach do I think has the ability to turn into a B plus group?
Right.
I do. So it's tough because I think there's so many people involved in the defensive backs. Mm-hmm. Obviously, John Butler's background is in defensive back. You got Addison Williams, who's your actual defensive backs coach. And then you got Phil Snow, who also has a background in defensive backs. So if I can take that group, I absolutely think they can turn the defensive backs into a B plus group.
Yeah.
If I have to pick a guy, I don't know if my confidence is in Addison Williams specifically, or if it's in the way he works with Butler. I guess
I'll tell you what, everything you're saying right now, with the potential that we have with defensive line, things we talked through it there, if Addison Williams got the defensive backs to B plus, sky is the limit. I mean, further and beyond.
Yeah, if the defensive backs are a B plus and the defensive line is at least that, which I think they can be, we're having a very fun discussion in November about what this football team is.